Imagine trying to send money internationally. It's often, well, slow, surprisingly costly, and half the time you're left wondering where exactly your money is. It's a pretty universal headache, right?
Definitely.
But what if there was a digital asset, designed right from the start to solve those specific problems?
And that's exactly what we're digging into in today's Crypto Visionary Network Explainer. We're taking a really close look at Ripple and its own digital asset, XRP.
Our mission today.
Yeah, our mission is basically to demystify XRP for you. We'll start with the absolute fundamentals, then get into the tech details, the cool uses, and the big debates around it.
So by the end, you should have a really clear picture of what XRP is all about.
Exactly. You'll get what makes it tick.
Okay, but first, just a quick heads up. The info we're sharing today comes from, well, a bunch of different internet sources, and we've used some AI to help piece it together.
Right, and while we always aim for accuracy, things change fast, and, mistakes or outdated info can sometimes slip through.
And crucially, nothing we say here is financial advice. This is purely educational.
Absolutely. Always do your own research. Use common sense before making any financial decisions.
Okay, let's get into it. Even folks who follow crypto sometimes get tripped up on Ripple the company versus XRP the asset. Are they the same thing? Different? How does it work?
Yeah, it's a really common question, but super important to understand the difference. So Ripple Labs, that's the company. It was founded back in 2012, though it actually evolved from an earlier concept called Ripple Pay from 2004.
Okay, so Ripple Labs is the tech company.
Exactly. They developed the XRP ledger, the XRPL, and they use XRP in their products. But XRP itself, that's the actual digital asset. It's independent, it's open source, and it runs on the XRPL.
Okay, so Ripple built the highway, and XRP is the super fast car driving on it.
That's a pretty good way to put it, yeah. The company built the infrastructure. XRP is the efficient digital fuel or bridge currency. Key founders were Jed McCaleb, Arthur Brito, David Schwartz.
And McCaleb also founded Stellar, right? XLM.
That's right. He later forked off to create Stellar, which is interesting in itself. But back to XRP, its core purpose isn't just to be another crypto. It was built for something specific.
Right, it has a mission. What is that?
Its main job is global financial transactions. Specifically, think cross-border payments, remittances, that kind of thing.
Okay.
The really clever part is how it acts as a bridge currency. It lets you swap between, say, US dollars and euros or dollars and Mexican pesos almost instantly without needing old-school intermediaries.
You mean like correspondent banks and those pre-funded accounts? Nostro accounts, is it?
Exactly, Nostro accounts. Banks traditionally have to park huge amounts of money in accounts in other countries just to facilitate these payments. It ties up massive capital.
And XRP gets around that.
Precisely. It acts as that real-time bridge, so you don't need the pre-funded accounts. It makes the whole process way faster and cheaper.
That sounds like a game changer, especially for international business.
Yeah.
How does it work technically, though? How is it so different from, say, Bitcoin?
Well, the biggest difference is how transactions get confirmed. Bitcoin uses proof-of-work mining, which, as we know, is pretty energy-intensive.
Yeah, very.
XRP uses a completely different system, a unique consensus mechanism. It's way, way more energy efficient. And because of that, transactions confirm incredibly fast. We're talking 3 to 5 seconds.
3 to 5 seconds, compared to minutes or even hours sometimes.
Right. And it's not some small niche coin either. XRP is consistently one of the biggest cryptocurrencies by market cap, usually in the top 10. It trades billions of dollars daily on pretty much every major exchange. It's a serious player.
That speed and low energy use really stand out. Can we go a bit deeper into that consensus mechanism? How does it work without mining or even staking?
Sure. The XRPL uses something called federated consensus, sometimes called the Ripple Protocol Consensus Algorithm, or RPCA.
Okay.
Instead of miners racing to solve puzzles or people locking up coins, there's this network of independent, trusted validators. Right now, there are over 120 globally, with a sort of default list of about 35 that nodes tend to trust.
Validators. So they're confirming the transaction.
Exactly. They constantly compare the transactions they're seeing. For a transaction set a ledger to be closed and validated, at least 80% of these validators need to agree on it.
80% consensus. That sounds pretty robust.
It is, and it means the transaction finality is incredibly quick and predictable. That's crucial for financial institutions. They can't deal with uncertainty.
And no mining rewards? What's the incentive for validators then?
The incentive isn't direct payment for validating blocks. It's more about maintaining the integrity and stability of the network itself. Many validators are businesses or institutions that actually use the XRPL, so they have a vested interest in keeping it running smoothly and securely.
Ah, okay. So their reward is a stable, reliable network. And that stability and consensus method directly leads to the speed and scalability we hear about.
Absolutely. That 3 to 5 second settlement time is the direct result. And the network isn't just fast, it's scalable. Natively, the XRPL can handle about 1,500 transactions per second.
1,500 TPS. That's already much higher than many others.
Yeah, it is. But it can go even higher using something called payment channels. Think of it like opening a tab between two parties. They can do loads of transactions off ledger really fast and then just settle the final net amount on the main ledger later.
So batching transactions, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. This can potentially scale the network up to tens of thousands of transactions per second, really built for high volume stuff.
In the energy aspect, you mentioned it's efficient. How efficient are we talking?
Hugely efficient compared to proof of work. It's one of XRP's biggest selling points, especially now with environmental concerns being so prominent. The energy used by the XRPL is tiny often compared to running an email server.
Just an email server. That's remarkable.
It really is. It makes it a much more sustainable option for digital finance.
Now, I know XRP wasn't mined like Bitcoin. The total supply was created up front, right? Is there anything that affects that supply now?
Correct. All 100 billion XRP were created when the ledger launched back in 2012. But there is a tiny deflationary mechanism built in. With every single transaction on the network, a very small amount of XRP is destroyed, burned.
Burned. So the total supply goes down over time.
Yes, but very slowly. It's a minuscule fee designed primarily to prevent spamming the network with bogus transactions. Over the last, 13 years or so, the supply has only decreased by about 0.1%.
Okay, so it's deflationary, but not in a way that's going to drastically change the economics anytime soon.
Exactly. It's more of a network health feature than a major economic driver.
Got it. So let's put XRP in context. How does it really stack up against Bitcoin, the original giant, and also against Stellar's XLM, given the shared founder history?
Good question. Comparing it to Bitcoin, they're almost designed for opposite things, in a way. XRP isn't aiming to be digital gold like Bitcoin. It's built to be maybe digital plumbing for the financial system.
Digital plumbing, I like that.
Yeah. It prioritizes speed, incredibly low cost, and predictability, which institutions need. Bitcoin is slower, uses proof of work, costs more per transaction, uses vastly more energy, and has a more decentralized, sort of grassroots origin.
Very different philosophies.
Very different. Now, comparing it to Stellar XLM is interesting because of Jed McCaleb. While XRP targets large financial institutions, big banks, payment providers, Stellar is more focused on individuals, smaller businesses, making it easier for everyday people and smaller organizations to move money, especially across borders.
So different target markets.
Primarily, yes. And also, Ripple is a for-profit company, whereas the Stellar Development Foundation is nonprofit. That shapes their strategies and how they operate, too.
That really clarifies things. Okay, we've covered the what and the how. Let's move on to the where. Where is XRP actually being used? What are the real-world applications making waves?
One of the biggest is Ripple's own product called On-Demand Liquidity, or ODL. This is where XRP really shines as that bridge currency we talked about.
All right, replacing the Nostro accounts.
Exactly. ODL lets financial institutions send cross-border payments almost instantly using XRP as the bridge. So instead of waiting days for a SWIFT transfer, it happens in seconds.
Seconds versus days. That's huge.
It is. And the cost is tiny fractions of a cent per transaction. Plus, the capital efficiency gain is massive because banks don't need to tie up funds in those Nostro accounts anymore. It frees up liquidity, especially in emerging markets where it might be harder to access.
Are companies actually using this now? Any examples?
Oh, yeah. RippleNet, which is Ripple's overall payment network that often utilizes ODL, has some big names. We're talking Santander, Amex, Mitsubishi UFJ. There's SBI Remit, using it for payments from Japan to Southeast Asia. Centbee in Korea reportedly saved customers millions in FX fees using RippleNet. TravelX Bank uses it too. And Onafric, formerly MFS Africa, connects something like 27 African countries through RippleNet for remittances.
Those are significant partnerships. It shows real institutional traction. But what's stopping everyone from jumping on board if the benefits are so clear?
Well, adoption takes time. There's regulatory uncertainty, although that's clearing up for XRP, as we'll discuss. There's the inertia of legacy systems. Integrating new tech isn't always simple or cheap, and just general institutional comfort levels with using digital assets, though that's changing rapidly.
Makes sense. It sounds like Ripple isn't just stopping at payments, though. Is the XRPL evolving into other areas like DeFi or tokenization?
Absolutely. That's a big area of growth. The XRPL has expanded its capabilities significantly. It now supports things like decentralized finance, DeFi applications, and also the tokenization of assets.
Tokenization, like putting real-world assets on the blockchain.
Exactly. Real estate, commodities, collectibles, you name it. The XRPL also has native support for NFTs, non-fungible tokens, through a standard called XLS20.
XLS20, what does that standard do?
Think of it like a technical blueprint. It makes it really easy for developers to create, manage, and trade NFTs directly on the XRPL efficiently and cheaply. We're already seeing projects like NFT marketplaces, XRP.cafe, I think is one, building on this. It shows the ledger is becoming more versatile.
Interesting. And wasn't there news about Ripple launching its own stablecoin recently?
Yes, that was a significant move. In December 2024, they launched Ripple USD, or RLUSD. It's a fully regulated stablecoin backed one-to-one by US dollars.
And it runs on the XRPL.
It runs on both the XRPL and Ethereum, which gives it flexibility. The idea is for RLUSD to become a core part of the liquidity infrastructure, especially for DeFi on the XRPL. Some see it as a potential challenger to traditional banking rails if banks don't adapt to digital assets quickly enough.
Ripple seems to be positioning itself right at the intersection of traditional finance and crypto.
Yeah.
What about central bank digital currencies, CBDCs? Are they involved there too?
Very much so. This is a major focus for Ripple. They're actively working with central banks around the world on CBDC projects.
How does that work? Are central banks using the public XRPL?
Not exactly. Ripple offers something called a private ledger for CBDCs. It uses the same core technology as the public XRPL, but gives the central bank complete control issuance, management, privacy, all tailored to their needs, while still getting the benefits of the underlying tech.
So they get the efficiency without giving up control. Any specific projects?
Yeah, they're involved with several high-profile initiatives. The Digital Dollar Project in the U.S., Project Dunbar, which involved multiple central banks like Singapore and Australia, plus specific partnerships with countries like Bhutan, Palau, Montenegro, Georgia. They're definitely positioning themselves as a key technology partner in the CBDC space.
Wow, they're really playing across the board. And I read something about research into stochastic dynamics of XRP. That sounds seriously complex. What's the point?
It does sound intense, but the practical goal is actually pretty straightforward, making XRP payments even more reliable for institutions. Researchers are using advanced math, basically sophisticated financial modeling, to predict how XRP might behave during market stress, like sudden price jumps or periods of high volatility. Think jump diffusion or regime switching volatility.
Okay. And why model that?
So that institutions using XRP for cross-border payments, especially through ODL, can better manage their risk. The models help predict settlement success rates under different market conditions and figure out the best hedging strategies. For example, maybe during high volatility, it's safer to route a payment through an XRP USDC pair instead of directly between two volatile fiat currencies.
So it's about optimizing the payment routing for maximum reliability.
Exactly. And the research shows these advanced models significantly improve predicted success rates, like maybe 93% success versus 81% using simpler models and lower risk. It proves XRP can be robust even when markets get choppy. It's all about building institutional confidence.
That makes sense. Building confidence is key. But speaking of challenges, XRP and Ripple have definitely faced their share of controversy, right? The SEC lawsuit was huge news.
Oh, absolutely. That lawsuit was probably the defining event for Ripple, and honestly for much of the crypto industry in recent years. It started in December 2020 when the SEC sued Ripple, alleging XRP was an unregistered security.
That must have cast a huge shadow.
It did for years. But then came the big court ruling on July 13th, 2023. The judge made a crucial distinction.
What was the ruling?
Judge Torres ruled that XRP itself was not a security when sold to the general public on exchanges. However, she ruled that it was a security when Ripple sold it directly to institutional investors under specific contracts.
A split decision then. How did it finally wrap up?
Well, the SEC later dropped the charges against the executives, Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson, in late 2023. Then, in August 2024, the final penalty for those institutional sales was agreed at $125 million, way less than the billions the SEC initially wanted. The case officially closed in March 2025 when the SEC decided not to pursue further appeals.
So, a major legal battle finally over. What was the impact beyond just Ripple?
It was massive. It provided much-needed legal clarity, at least partially, for XRP in the U.S. More broadly, it set a precedent, suggesting that the way a digital asset is sold matters the how we test context. It influenced how other digital assets might be viewed and definitely boosted market confidence around XRP once the uncertainty lifted.
And politically, it seems the tide might be turning a bit in the U.S. towards crypto regulation that fosters innovation.
There are definitely signs of that. We've seen changes in leadership at regulatory agencies like Gary Gensler stepping down from the SEC. Plus, proposals like President Trump's idea for a White House AI and crypto czar suggest a push towards clearer rules in supporting innovation. A more predictable regulatory environment could certainly benefit projects like Ripple and XRP.
But even with the legal win, XRP still gets criticized, right?
Okay.
So it's about centralization. Some people even say it's not really crypto.
That debate hasn't gone away. Critics point to Ripple Labs' large initial holdings of XRP and its influence on the network's development as signs of centralization. The not a crypto argument often comes up because it doesn't fit the purely decentralized, permissionless model of something like Bitcoin.
How does Ripple push back on that?
They argue that the network is sufficiently decentralized, pointing to the large number of independent validators globally. They emphasize that market liquidity and widespread adoption show XRP's resilience beyond Ripple's direct control. Their view is that their model balances efficiency and regulatory compliance things institutions demand with the core benefits of blockchain. It's a trade-off, essentially.
It seems that whole controversy, though, has helped build a really strong community around XRP, the XRP army.
Absolutely. That community is incredibly passionate and organized. They were a major force during the SEC lawsuit, really mobilizing support, lobbying, using social media. Attorney John Deaton famously represented tens of thousands of XRP holders in the case.
And is that community getting more say in the network's future?
There are moves in that direction. There's a new initiative called XAODAO on the XRPL. It's designed to let XRP holders vote directly on proposals and even fund projects using XRP without needing a new governance token. Apparently, it includes mechanisms to limit the voting power of large holders, or WAYs, to encourage broader participation. It's an interesting step towards more decentralized governance.
That's fascinating. So pulling all these threads together, the tech, the use cases, the controversies, the community, how would you sum up XRP's position right now?
I'd say XRP is really uniquely positioned. It's a digital asset purpose-built for speed, low cost, and scalability, specifically targeting that massive cross-border payments market. It's making real inroads with institutions, expanding into DeFi and tokenization, and playing a key role in CBDC development. Plus, it now has significant regulatory clarity in the U.S., which is a huge advantage. It's laser-focused on integrating with and improving the existing financial system.
Okay, so looking ahead, here's a final thought to leave our listeners with. Will XRP eventually replace old systems like SWIFT entirely? Or are we more likely to see a kind of hybrid future?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe a future where blockchain systems like XRP work alongside or even integrate with traditional networks, each perhaps serving different needs, but making the whole global financial system faster, cheaper, and more connected. It really makes you think about how finance is evolving and XRP's role in that shift.
It really does. And just one last time, folks, remember, this was all for educational purposes, not financial advice. Please do your own homework.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for this explainer on XRP. Hope you found it enlightening.